What's up, everybody? Thought Company here. We're back at it again with a new live stream here, talking about a funny story here, talking about how Sped Sis got rejected by a gay guy. By the way, before we start here, I'm also here on Discord with Chop and Alex. So yeah,
What?
basically,
Oh, hell.
the story
Rejected by a
goes
gay
like
guy.
this.
Oh,
So,
nah, we don't do that. Gay
so
guy.
hold up,
Ooh, nah,
Chopper, hold
nah.
up. Let me tell you the story. So she moved up to Virginia, right? So
Oh, word, yeah.
she when we were talking about last about Sped Sis, we were talking about the situation where she had dumped her original boyfriend and she decided to move in with this couple and have this weird like three-way relationship. And we were trying to basically come to sense of the whole thing, like what was going on. And um we can't really come up with any solutions as to like the reason for this other than somebody's trying to be promiscuous, basically. So here's what basically has been going on. She's been living with so they were all of them. So basically her, this couple, this man and woman, and their kids living in this apartment that was basically provided to them for free through the funding of the, I believe, the Navy, the U.S. military. And basically the man works in the Navy and everybody else don't be doing nothing, sitting at home basically. And I'm not going to go too much further detail about the couple because it's not important in this story. But basically, uh she had this plan where at some point she decided that, oh, I'm not going to live there long term because we've been getting on her for being crazy for all this. And she called my mom up one point and she was like, I've decided that I don't want to be normal. I want to have a polygamous marriage. And my mom's like, well, what are you talking about? Basically. And she's like, I am Polly. And she's like started using these like like all the new terms that you'd be seeing with like the like ultra like liberal people, the people who are the promoters of this like non-traditionalist like society. Basically, without calling it other words. Um, so she decided at some point a few months ago that she wanted to eventually move out of out of that apartment. But for whatever reason, she didn't really come up with a solid plan. So what ended up doing was she brainwashed this family because she was tired of living in this apartment, my sped sis. She brainwashed this family to dump everything at the apartment and move into a house and start renting out a house, which basically is like renting out an apartment, but basically, bigger house and double to triple the rent. Plus, you got to take care of, well, depending on the contract and the lease, probably have to take care of other stuff at the house, basically. You're kind of like a homeowner, but not really. So they all do that. And at the same time, she's like, oh man, I need to make a backup plan just in case something bad happens, right? So she has this long list of people who are, you could argue, are also sped. Um, so what ends up happening is she has a relationship with, or a friendship, I should say, friendship with this guy who happens to be gay. And I've actually kind of seen this guy. I don't think I've met him. I don't believe so. He probably said hello to me. I think this is one of the few of her friends who's had the decency of at least saying hello. And came by, said hello, and I say hi, and we never really had any conversations or anything. But from my understanding, my mom has had some conversations with this gay guy. And it's sort of grown to the point where my mom and my grandmother actually think that he's going to be a positive influence on my sped sister. So I was like, okay, if he's going to be a positive influence, at least like maybe he will kind of help get sped sis to go in the right direction. Fine. Hard to say exactly, but we've noticed that the guy at least like does things compared to other friends. For example, he will make himself presentable. He won't be all completely flashy and all that. He won't be obnoxious. He won't be aggressive. He doesn't seem to get angry at anybody. He just, he just tries to act pleasant, dresses nicely, seems to at least have a good uh, behavior when he's over as a guest compared to some of the other crazier friends of Sped Sis. So eventually it comes to my knowledge that this gay guy, this gay friend of my Sped sister, is um, happens to actually have a college degree compared to a lot of other friends who are not of that level. And this guy decides that, hey, how about this? I'm planning to stay, he kind of, because he's friends with Sped Sis, they keep in communication, they keep in contact. So Sped Sis basically tells the whole story of what's going on to this gay guy, essentially. And he eventually actually comes up with the proposal, from my understanding, originally from his end, to invite Sped Sis to move in with him as a roommate because he apparently was having some kind of relationship or something going on his end that wasn't really like finalized to have a another friend or person living at that place where that gay guy was living in, somewhere in North Carolina. I don't even know where exactly, because for as far as I know, he lived in, I believe, in Salisbury at some point, which is where um, my sister went to for her education. And so he was planning on basically renting out a house there, from my understanding, and having Sped Sis move in. And Sped Sis was eventually thinking, oh, that's a good idea for her. But Sped Sis has unfortunately decided to become crazier for the last like year or two. And there's a couple of things she started doing. She's become a much more out of this world type of person. Got to be loud. It's her like thing. She's like, I gotta be loud. I gotta let the whole world know who I've decided to be, type of person. And on top, so that's kind of the first thing. She's had this behavior change. The next thing that she started doing is she started like what I call collecting. What I mean by collecting is she's like, I need to get this, I need to get this, and that for comfort. She's getting comfort items for the sole purpose of comforting herself, meaning that she's got to like ease her emotions or whatever because she's decided that she must be emotional. That this is not something like, I mean, some people would call this sped basically, but um, she's got this like obsession where she needs to be emotional and show off her emotions and let everybody know that she's emotional. So back to the comfort items. Among the various like things that she's been gathering, I mean, you could say it's junk, you could say it's a her thing, it's up to you. But she's decided to get a bunch of animals. And this kind of has been ongoing since she was with her boyfriend. So at some point, Spetsis had a dog and 3 cats. And my family went off on her for having all these animals because at most we had 1 cat, and then we decided not to get any more cats when the last cat passed away. And in general, we have some other opinions as to why we personally don't want to have animals. There being like allergy reasons, animals make messes, responsibility over the animals and all that. But Spetsis is like, oh, I need these pets so I can comfort myself. Um, and this gay guy decided that, well, I don't feel comfortable because, the gay guy is part of like what I call the type of people who like to be very neat, preppy, um, clean, organized um, type of people. And he's looking at Sped Sis, seeing that she's kind of cluttery, having all these animals, and he was like, "No, we're not having all this stuff, all this junk over at this house where I'm going to be living." And so what ends up happening was like he decides to kind of compromise it, and he's like, "Well, how about this? How about you bring yourself, your stuff, and 1 cat, And then my sister decides to go all emotional, crying, bawling her eyes out, saying, I need all these cats. I need one cat on my left. I need one cat on my right. I need one in the center. You know, like some kind of crazy, like, symbolistic reason. And so this gay guy's like, nah, we're not doing that. And so what she's decided to try to do is her next option, and I can't really confirm or deny this, but apparently she's been trying to become closer with this guy. Um, because her logic is like, oh, maybe I go, because I'm not traditionalist, I'm not a regular person, and this person's not a traditionalist. Oh, maybe we can hook up and go one way or another type of like mentality. So I don't know where that's supposed to like lead, but she somehow managed to all of a sudden like convince this guy, maybe because he's a friend, um, to go out traveling. They've been traveling to places, visiting some like concerts and all that, doing a bunch of stuff. And now she's trying to kind of convince this guy to somehow let her move in with him. And we don't know where that's supposed to go. We're kind of thinking, well, we were thinking that it's probably better for the best for her to basically move out of this three-way relationship where she's arguably kind of a burden on this family. Um, and it's at this point it's getting a lot crazier, man. So yeah, basically the gay guy, as far as we know, has decided to reject Sped's sister. So that's pretty much the story there. But yeah, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you do subscribe, like this video, comment down below. We also have a lot more stories we'll tell you all later. So see you all soon. Peace out. Take care.